You look at a VA decision letter and see one condition already recognized as service-connected. Then, years later, a doctor diagnoses another condition affecting the same general area of your body. Your first thought may be, did one cause the other? That question deserves investigation. It does not deserve a guess.
Welcome to the Veteran Benefits Reset Podcast, where we help veterans and their families better understand the VA disability benefits process, one step at a time. I'm your host, Cameron Burrell, a U.S. Army veteran and founder of VetBiz Media. Today, we're looking at the difference between primary and secondary service connection, and more importantly, how to think about the evidence without turning a possibility into a conclusion.
Here is the idea I want you to keep with you. The responsible way to think about a possible secondary condition is not to prove your theory first. It is to identify the current condition, identify the existing service-connected foundation, and identify the evidence question connecting them. One condition, one foundation, one relationship to investigate.
This is an independent educational resource. It does not provide legal advice, medical advice, individualized claims advice, claim preparation services, or predictions about ratings, approvals, effective dates, or compensation. Every veteran's service, medical history, records, and circumstances are different. Verify current information through official VA resources and consult a VA-accredited veteran service organization, claims agent, or attorney when appropriate.
So, what does primary service connection mean? In plain language, it generally means the condition is being evaluated as directly related to military service or to an event, injury, illness, exposure, or circumstance associated with that service. Primary describes the relationship being considered. It does not mean the condition is more serious, more deserving, or automatically assigned a particular rating.
Secondary service connection starts from a different place. The question is whether a current condition is related to a condition that is already service-connected. That relationship may involve the service-connected condition causing another condition or affecting it in a way that requires careful evaluation. The word secondary describes the relationship being examined. It does not predict the result.
Let's return to the fictional veteran from the opening. The veteran has a knee condition that appears in an existing VA decision as service-connected. Years later, the veteran is diagnosed with a hip condition. The veteran also notices that walking and standing feel different because of the knee. That may be a reasonable relationship to ask about, but the veteran's observation by itself does not establish that the knee caused the hip condition. That sounds simple. It usually is not. A useful review usually brings three questions together. Is there a current condition? Is there an established service-connected condition or service-related foundation? And is there competent evidence addressing the relationship between them? Those questions work together, but they are not interchangeable. For the fictional veteran, the first question is not simply, does my hip hurt? It may be, what is the current hip condition and where is that diagnosis documented? Pain and limitation are important experiences. They can be described and evaluated. But a symptom is not always the same as a diagnosis, and a diagnosis alone does not automatically explain its cause. The second question is about the foundation. What exactly does the existing VA decision say about the knee? What is the condition called? What date or decision identifies it as service-connected? If the original knee condition has not been established as service-connected, that may be a different issue from asking whether a hip condition is secondary to it. Keep those questions separate. The third question is the relationship itself. Does a medical record explain how the two conditions may be connected? Does it discuss causation, worsening, other possible causes, or the natural progression of the condition? Two diagnoses can appear on the same page without the record explaining their relationship. A shared page is not the same thing as a supported connection. That is the thesis in practice. One condition, one foundation,
one relationship to investigate. Not one symptom, one internet search, and one guaranteed answer. Facts over frustration. The goal is to find out what the records actually show and what questions remain unanswered.
Different evidence serves different purposes. Service records may help establish what happened during military service, what duties were performed, when symptoms were documented, or what treatment occurred at the time. They can provide important history. They may not answer every later medical question, especially when a diagnosis appears years after separation. Medical records may document diagnoses, examination findings, treatment, progression, and a clinician's reasoning. Compare these two kinds of notes. One says, hip pain, history of knee problems. Another explains why the provider believes the conditions are related or why the provider does not believe they are related. Those notes contain very different information. When reviewing records, look for the reasoning, not just the names of conditions. Treatment history can add a timeline. When did the symptom first appear? When did it become more frequent? What care was tried? Did a provider notice a pattern over time? A gap in treatment does not automatically disprove a condition or a relationship. Veterans delay care for many real reasons, including work, transportation, family responsibilities, cost, or simply learning to live with the problem. A gap may create a question. It is not automatically an answer. Personal observations matter too. The veteran may be able to describe when walking changed, what activities became difficult, how often pain appeared, or what another person could see. A spouse, family member, coworker, or friend may describe observable changes based on personal experience. That kind of information can help describe history and daily impact.
But there is an important boundary. A veteran can say, "My hip began hurting after I started walking differently because of my knee." That is a first-hand observation and a useful question for a provider. The veteran should be cautious about turning it into, "My knee definitely caused my hip condition." The first statement describes experience. The second is a medical conclusion.
This is where symptom matching causes trouble. Two conditions may share pain, fatigue, numbness, sleep disruption, or limited movement. Shared symptoms can be a reason to ask questions. They cannot answer the relationship question by themselves. Many different conditions can produce similar symptoms.
The same warning applies to online checklists. Online information can help you learn vocabulary and prepare questions. It cannot review your complete history, examine you, weigh competing explanations, or replace official VA guidance and professional advice. Use the internet to become more informed, not to diagnose yourself or predict an outcome. Timing can also be misleading. If the hip condition appears after the knee condition, the sequence may be relevant, but later does not automatically mean caused by. Other injuries, work demands, daily activities, natural progression, and other medical factors may need to be considered. A timeline organizes the question. It does not answer the question by itself. Now, let's make this practical with the worksheet. Imagine a row that says, existing condition, right knee strain, using the exact wording from the fictional VA decision. Possible newer condition, left hip osteoarthritis, with the diagnosis date currently unknown. Record located, a private orthopedic note from March 2024. Unanswered question, does the provider discuss altered gait or another relationship between the knee and hip? Verification source, the provider and a VA-accredited representative. Notice what that row does not say. It does not say the claim qualifies. It does not say the knee caused the hip condition. It does not predict a rating. It simply separates known information from an unanswered question. That is the value of the worksheet. It slows down the leap from "I noticed a pattern" to "I already know the answer."
Start your own worksheet with the exact condition names. Use the wording in your VA decision letter, medical records, or other official documents. Then add dates: when the original condition began or was recognized, when the newer symptoms began, when a diagnosis was made, and when treatment started. If you do not know a date, write unknown. Honest organization is more useful than a perfect-looking timeline built from guesses.
Under each condition, list the records you know about. That could include service treatment records, VA treatment notes, private medical records, imaging, prescriptions, examination reports, employment records, or prior decision letters. You do not need to decide which record proves anything. Just note what exists, where it may be located, and what period it covers.
Then write the unanswered questions. Is the newer condition formally diagnosed? Does a provider discuss a relationship? Is the question about causation, worsening, or something else? Are private records missing? Does the VA decision use a different name for the existing condition? These are not admissions that your case is weak. They are a map for the next conversation.
Finally, identify the right place to verify each question. A medical provider may address diagnosis and medical relationships. An accredited representative may help explain process and evidence questions. Official VA resources can provide current forms, procedures, and program information. Keep those lanes distinct. Organize, verify, execute, but execute responsibly.
It also helps to keep 3 separate ideas from blending together. First is service connection. Is there a relationship to service, directly or through an already service-connected condition? Second is evidence. What records and professional explanations address that relationship? Third is severity. How does the condition affect the veteran, and what evaluation rules may apply? One layer does not automatically answer the others.
That separation matters because someone may hear the phrase secondary condition and immediately jump to a rating question. Slow the process down. First, identify the condition. Then, identify the relationship being considered. Then, identify the evidence. Only after that should you study the rules related to severity. Education before action. If your records are incomplete, do not assume the story is over. Missing information is a reason to identify what can be verified, not a reason to fill the gaps with assumptions. You may find an old decision letter, a treatment note, or a date that changes the question you need to ask. One record can lead to another. One clear question can make the next conversation more productive.
If the situation involves several conditions, an incomplete record, or medical questions you cannot answer, consider speaking with a VA-accredited Veterans Service Organization, claims agent, or attorney. Bring the worksheet. Ask focused questions. You do not have to arrive with a finished diagnosis, a perfect timeline, or a guaranteed answer.
Let's bring it together. Primary service connection generally considers whether a condition is directly related to military service or a service-related event. Secondary service connection generally considers whether a current condition is related to an already service-connected condition. A careful review asks about the current condition, the established foundation, and evidence addressing the relationship.
Symptoms can raise a question. They cannot answer it. 2 diagnoses can exist together without the record explaining their connection. Personal observations can describe what changed, but they do not always answer medical questions. Treatment gaps may need context, but they do not automatically decide the issue. And a worksheet is not a decision. It is a way to separate facts, records, and questions.
Before the next episode, make one worksheet row, not for every condition, just one possible connection. Write the exact condition names. Verify one date. List one record you have. Circle one unanswered relationship question. Then take that organized information to an official VA resource or an accredited representative when appropriate. One step, one record, one mission.
Thanks for listening to the Veteran Benefits Reset podcast. If this episode helped you understand the difference between primary and secondary service connection, follow the podcast, leave a review, and share it with another veteran, family member, or caregiver who could benefit. Download the free 7-step Veteran Benefits Reset Guide at vecbizmedia.com/veterans7.
Thank you for listening to the Veteran Benefits Reset podcast. Remember, this is an independent educational resource, not legal or medical advice. Verify current information through official VA resources and seek accredited guidance when appropriate. Your service did not expire. Your story is still worth reviewing. Take the next responsible step.